Hello, artists, arters, and art appreciators, and welcome to Art of Lore. This is the fourth video in my 12 Days of Toys throughout December series where I create a new little model and post it every other day. This is inspired by the 12 Days of Christmas, but it's not explicitly Christmas themed and is focused on the one thing everyone following me probably enjoys, which is toys, and today also Neopets. If you aren't aware, Neopets is a virtual pet simulator website that has been around for about 25 years and is very nostalgic to many people, including myself. Aisha, which is technically supposed to be pronounced Aisha, but you're gonna catch me pronouncing it Aisha because that's just how I say it in my head. I think this is very common among Neopets fans. If you started playing very young, you don't know how to pronounce everything. So I call it Aisha, but it's supposed to be called Aisha. Aisha, or the Aisha, is one of the 55 adoptable species and is, in my opinion, like one of the most iconic. I think Aisha is like the species that is closest to what Pikachu is for Pokemon, but for Neopets in a way. It's not exactly, because they do have a few that they really like. I also looked it up, and it's not the most popular species. It's actually number 19, which I was pretty surprised by. But it's almost always featured in the merch from very early on. It was one of the earliest pets, as in, I think it was like on launch. And that's part of the reason I chose it for this video. It's also, I think, one of the most uniquely Neopets designs of the most popular ones. Other than like maybe Kachik, or maybe like Jub Jub, who kind of looks like Kirby. Most of the popular Neopets have like a single pretty clear animal that they're based off of, or mythical creature. Shoryu, I also don't know how to pronounce that, Shoiru just looks like a Charmander with wings. Kugra and Loop are a tiger and a wolf. Uni and Eerie are a unicorn and a griffin. And that's not bad or anything, but there's something funny to me about the Aisha because it's such like an indistinct creature among all the rest of them. They have like little stump feet that aren't really hooves or paws, even though most other Neopets have like clearly illustrated feet. A tail kind of like a dinosaur thing. A neck like a giraffe and ears like a cat, and then it's also got these antennae with these like big extra ears on top of them. They also always have the collar with the A on them, and it's just very funny to have this like accessory that's like part of them to me, I guess. For this video, I'm making a specific color of Aisha, the toy Aisha. In Neopets, the color of a pet can be changed by using a unique paintbrush. When you adopt the pet, it comes in the like basic colors, which I think are blue, red, yellow, and green from what I recall. So you can choose those 4 colors to adopt your pet as, or you can paint them in additional colors. And by colors, I mean all sorts of things, because the colors aren't just colors, they're also like weird. There's like a chocolate one, and there's like the mutant and the zombie and the Moroccan, which means just like sea themed or like ocean themed, so everything's like a little mermaid. Early on in Neopets, you could only customize your pet by using a paintbrush on it, and the paintbrushes were all like super rare and expensive. We're talking like millions of Neo points or something for these things. And nowadays you can dress them and stuff, and some of the paintbrushes are cheaper, and you can also, there are more ways to kind of get the different skins. But you can still use the paintbrushes to further customize your pet that has like wearable clothes. Some of the paintbrushes are like really creepy, some of them are cute. There's a big variety, and the Aisha actually have a custom color that can't be gotten by a paintbrush, the Alien Aisha, which can only be gotten through things like special events or as like quest prizes. There are other skins like that you can't get quite through like a paintbrush method, but most of them are supposed to be paintbrushes. That's like the thing. In the earlier Neopets art, the Aisha has a super flat face, but I decided in my model to give her more of a snout. But other than that, I tried to stick to the original art as much as possible. I did make all my pieces out of blocks like normal and then refine them. So that's what you're seeing right now is me like making it out of some simple shapes, and then later I'm going to go in and sculpt. But I'm also doing things like a little bit differently in this video. On the Neopets art, you can see that the toy Aisha has these little holes on its legs, neck, and tail for the toy version. I want this sculpt to not just look like the image, but for the parts of it to be functional in some way, or like interactive. So the legs and the body pieces are going to be like all separate pieces, and I'm going to include like the seam that's in the image. That's going to be part of the object. You'll see later on. So I'm not going to be combining everything and then sculpting. I'm going to have everything as like slightly separate objects. Also, while I'm doing this video, I decided to show you my Aisha and all my Neopets. I actually got an Aisha and Neopets because of this video, but I also did this video because I just got my Neopets account back. Shout out to the Neopets team for being really helpful. Neopets has kind of gotten a history of getting hacked. It is in new hands, so people say that like the hacking issue seems to be resolved nowadays, but if you had an account that's very old, it probably got hacked and like the emails and passwords all got changed at some point. But I did succeed at getting mine back, and I have my 18-and-a-half-year-old account with my original Neopets. The 25th anniversary celebration just went on like last month, and it had some like special stuff, like a special wheel where you could win like special themed prizes. And they even released a special anniversary paintbrush. You can only paint the Aisha, Kachik, Kugra, Loop, and Shoryu. I actually don't know if I misspelled it in this, or this is not a good word to say. Just saying that. Anyways, the 25th anniversary brush gives the Aisha wings and can only be used on those like 5 Neopets, so I decided to get one. So that's my first like Neopet in 16 to 17 to 18 years. My account is 18-and-a-half years old, so like I got all of my pets when I was let's not even think about that, when I was like under 10 years old. I also got a anniversary pet paintbrush. The pets are the pets that you give to your pets. You can also get pets, but they don't have paintbrushes, I don't think. But I haven't used my anniversary pet paintbrush because the pets you can use it on are like really expensive. It like doesn't cost money, or it costs very little money to adopt like a Neopet, but then to get the pets you have to buy them, and some of them are really expensive, and you can only use it on like 4 pets. So for now my Aisha has a Hopso. Yeah, she's very spoiled otherwise though, because I bought like clothes for all my Neopets, which might not seem like much, but like when I played, this was starting early in 2006, and in 2007 that's when they rolled out the wearable clothing. And the thing about the wearable clothing is that early on especially, it was like not, like there weren't that many options, and a lot of them were basically you had to pay real money for them. Neopets has a monetization system where you can get like certain items for Neo Cash, which is just money that you have to buy with real money. At the time I played Neopets, I was like a kid. I didn't have any money. Also, my family didn't have very much money either. So I didn't have like a special account on Neopets where I could get the things that cost money and stuff. So the wearable items like made me really sad because I could never get them because there were just so few that you could get without the real money. But nowadays, Neopets has like way more options. You can get like tons of the stuff that, like tons of the stuff is just in Neopoints now, and they have like so many more items. And then also it's actually pretty easy to get the like some of the Neocash items you can get. Certainly not all of them, but like I've even gotten recently some of like the exclusive Christmas items just from like people will sell the exclusive items in their shop if they're like the advent calendar items or something like that. So it's not like impossible to get exclusive items. They also gave out some Neocash for doing the 25th anniversary celebration, so that was cool also. So yeah, Neopets is, I've been enjoying my time playing it a couple of times a day. It's very nostalgic. I think, like, honestly, so many of the accounts on there are people who just, you know, feel nostalgic from their childhood playing Neopets and stuff like that. You see a lot of very old accounts also. They were planning to do a purge in October of all accounts that hadn't been logged into for 10 years. So I don't think that they like ended up going through with that purge, but they might at some time in like the near future. And they do this like semi-regularly, like removing all accounts that people hadn't accessed in a very long time. Because obviously it's a lot of server space to have a website like Neopets. I think that's, you know, you don't see that many brands with structures like Neopets, like virtual worlds. I know that they have like also an app on the phone or something like that. I guess it's very odd. I don't really know what the stuff on the phone is on Neopets nowadays because I don't download random apps like that. I feel like I like, you know, sitting down and like doing the Neopets on my computer because it's nostalgic, but I get that everybody kind of does stuff on their phone now, so everybody is always trying to have like really good phone interactivity because they assume that you're going to be using your phone. I basically don't use my phone for anything. That's not like Twitter. I don't even use Twitter anymore. Blue Sky? I don't know. Does Blue Sky have an app? I haven't downloaded Blue Sky. I don't look at Twitter anymore. And I don't look at Blue Sky. I don't know what I use my phone for anymore. Tumblr. That's it. That's all I use my phone for. Tumblr. And I don't use it for Neopets. I'm sorry, Neopets. But I do use your normal website where I play all of your Flash games. They still have tons of their Flash games. Flash is discontinued, and that kind of messed up a lot of Neopets' like website infrastructure. So they've kind of been moving things over to non-Flash, but for a ton of their Flash games, they have built in a program called Ruffle, which it basically allows you to still play Flash games. You can also, I think, get it outside of like you can download it to your browser. I don't know exactly how, but I know that the Neopets website has it like built in so that you can play Neopets. So yeah, it's a fun time. I've been having a good time with that. And so this sculpt was very fun to do. I started collecting the Yusukis too, so if anybody wants a Yusuki sculpt in the future, I might do it anyways, but also, I probably shouldn't say that because I have a lot on my list, as you all know. For my goal for these sculpts was for them to take about an hour, and the actual like shape and sculpt part of this actually did take like exactly an hour, but with objects like this where I wanted to make it a bunch of separate pieces, I needed to do way more editing. So it took about the same amount of time to like finagle everything into a shape that like everything fit together once they're printed, they can be put together instead of being one big shape. So the legs are going to be separate to the body, and I have to do a lot of fiddly work to make that possible, if that makes sense. Yeah, I haven't figured out what to call this stage. It's like the refining, the detail stage? I don't know. So I added a sphere to the top of the neck and added a cutout in it. This is a method of making a ball jointed head that I've seen people use on like Cults 3D, where if you print it in PLA at least, it is just flexible enough so that you can kind of pop a head on like this, because the thickest part of the ball can just kind of bend inward a slight amount. But as usual, I can't test this feature, so I can't make sure this joint will actually allow the head to bend and like make sure that it won't break when you pop it on. So that's kind of the risk with this sculpt, is that I'm not 100%. I ended up making it looser rather than making it tight. I also split the body in half, so I'll be working on everything like with each half in mind. This matches the seam in the original like image, like the toy Aisha image. So you are going to have to assemble your Aisha from the ground up, is my thing. I mean, hopefully, I don't know, people are interested in that. I was thinking about it, and I was like, I think it would be fun to make something interactive in that way. So you take the two side pieces, and there's going to be a peg so that you can put the legs on, and then pegs for you to put the body together, essentially, to try and like hold the body together. You might be like, how does the color go on? Well, you have to take the color and put it on before you put on the head, and that way it like looks like it's all one piece. I mean, it is all one piece. So you just can put the collar right on, and that helps like hold it together too, like hold the two sides of the body together too, hopefully. The antenna are going to be separate. This all should also help with printing. Not the antenna necessarily, but maybe, because with certain types of like 3D printing, it can have difficulties balancing some things. So I would just like worry about maybe those antenna like getting messed up in the middle, because they're like quite thin in some areas. But hopefully if you print them separately, you can print them like lying down or something like that, and then you can just put them in the head, and that will be alright. That's my hope, at least. The reason I wanted to do all of these pieces separate was also because I figured if you're printing the body in halves, you can just put that like half flat on the build plate, and it should be able to print really nicely completely on the build plate. So for the pegs, I basically made a peg with the idea that it'll be like inset a little, just kind of like in the image where it's just like a little hole. It looks like a little hollow space. And then I copied that peg and I made it slightly bigger to make essentially the like socket with a Boolean. The Boolean modifier you will see on the side constantly. And I tried to leave in the parts where I actually like used the Boolean just so it was like clear what I was doing. But yeah, if you look very closely, you can see me clicking on the Boolean and applying it constantly. You can't see me applying it because I do Control A to apply. So basically every time I hover over the Boolean and it just disappears, that means I Controlled A to apply it to combine it with the mesh that was already there. The neck and tail pegs are slightly smaller than the leg pegs, and they also go into a socket that it goes into the other side of the body. So this is my concern, is that these will be too loose and like they won't hold the body together well enough. But I figure that like if you're gonna go through all the effort to print out the Aisha, you can probably get some glue or something and just like hold it together with that also. Like just put some glue on the little peg and push it in. And I hope people don't mind that too terribly. This is a pretty experimental sculpt. you know, I'll keep that in mind and price it at only like a few dollars. So there are 4 pegs for each of the legs, and then the 1 peg in the neck and 1 peg in the tail to hold those together, hopefully. And the peg in the neck and tail, they obviously don't go to the other side. So the other side doesn't like have that little divot that is in the original image. So I guess that's a way it's like not completely accurate. But I basically was just like, I'm fine with it not being 100% accurate because it seemed like it really only needed to be on one side. So here's it on the build plate. Here's my idea of essentially how you could lay it out on the surface. This is a slice that I did with no supports, but I think definitely like the ears would need some support. Maybe the collar and antenna, I should say, because the ears on the head don't need support. But the head and the body and the little feet and the pegs should probably be able to print with like basically no support, and then the rest of it might need like some minimal amount of support. Hopefully not too much, because I've been trying to cut down on the amount of supports my stuff needs. But yeah, I was really happy with how it turned out. You can see everything laid out very carefully. That's like, I spent so much time, even taking into account the 60 minutes it took to sculpt and then like the 50 minutes to do everything else like that I said. I spent much more time like off camera fiddling with stuff to get it like printable than is even included. So you can just imagine like just add another couple hours of me just like changing the settings and saving it and everything like that. And also my little preview at the end of the whole thing with all of the colors. I spent some time doing that also today too. Anyways, thanks for watching. I hope you like this sculpt as much as I do. I'll be posting most of these 3D models to Cults 3D after the video goes up, but supporters on Ko-fi have access to these and more models for the price of a membership, and access to other new exclusive 3D models. Thank you to my supporters, Isella Retro Geek Crafts and Luca. Goodbye, see you soon. Oh yeah, also like and subscribe the video. Bye!